certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting virtually. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the meeting, the public may access this call through video conferencing or telephone. This meeting is being recorded, it says up on the screen. Following the presentation by the petitioner and questions from the commission, members of the public will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment. Please identify yourself with name and address for the record. You can also raise your hand from your cell phone by dialing, well, I suppose the other phone too, *9. All video screens will be turned off with the exception of the commissioners, Delia, and the current petitioner. Once the commission has acted on an application, the petitioner is free to leave the meeting, of course. Screen sharing will not be permitted unless absolutely necessary. All votes will be taken by roll call. In the event of any technical difficulties, all matters on the agenda that have not been heard will automatically be continued to the November 4th, 2020 NRC meeting. At this time, I would like the commissioners to introduce themselves. Judy?
Judy Thornbrecker.
Sarah?
Sarah Grimwood.
Ed?
Ed Nardi.
All right, all right. Our first item on agenda is all those in the public, we're going to watch the new coronation of a chair. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Greg, I'd like to move and nominate Commissioner Edward Nardi as chair of the Natural Resources Commission for a one-year term.
Do I have a second? Sarah, do I have a second?
You do, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Judy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
I'm aye as well. And Ed, you can have a vote if you want, but you're in. Take it away. It's yours.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that. I guess the first order of business is to approve the minutes of June 25th and August 12th. Does any of the commissioners have any comments towards those?
I do not.
I do not either. I make a motion to accept the minutes of August 25th.
We have a second?
Second. I think it's June 25th and August 12th, Greg.
June 25th and August 12th. June 25th.
Okay, second.
Okay, and I'll call the roll vote. Judy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And Greg?
Aye.
And I am aye as well. Next, moving on to the director's report. Delia, what do you have for us this evening?
Thanks, Ed. So just briefly, I sent around the MBTA's appeal of the NRC's determination on the mechanical removal within the MBTA along the commuter rail. We received that October 5th. I have not received anything yet back from DEP. I would expect that they would uphold the commission's determination since I have that in an email from them from 2 years ago that the work that they had done in the right of way in 2017 and 18 was not authorized to proceed without review. So I'll keep you posted when we hear something back from them. Last night was the CPA, the first Community Preservation Committee hearing on the projects that are in front of them. Division of Natural Resources has 4. The first is the Emerson CR acquisition, which is requesting $210,000 from CPA funds for an acquisition cost of lot 1 for $565,000. That would be for a conservation restriction that would allow the Emerson Association to continue their endowment, to bolster their endowment, to allow the house to remain open and hopefully to have it be open in times that coincide with the open times of the Concord Museum. Second one is the old rifle range. We have that very narrow section of the old rifle range where there's the ridge and then the ministerial swamp down below, a 1 foot wide trail. It's treacherous in the winter. It was very evident during Corona and currently. You can't pass 2 people on that trail. So we are looking for survey and design costs to widen that to a 4 to 5 foot wide trail that's more consistent with some of our other trails in the area, including the old rifle range. That is a request for $34,500 from CPA and a total project cost of $56,500. A lot of the work would be done in-house with the engineering and wetland delineation. Third is the Chamberlain Bridge Survey and Permitting. CPA funded the bridge design to replace the zigzag bridge, which is 41 years old. This phase now looks to conduct the survey and permitting so that we can advance that forward. And then construction costs will likely be CPA as well as trustees of town donations, which holds the Chamberlain gift. I should have said with Old Rifle Range that construction costs, we would seek a Mass Trails grant. We tried to get that for survey and design. We weren't successful. So I think it's 50-50 with the construction. So we'll likely be back to CPA for funding requests for that as well next year or the following. And then the final is the Warner's Pond dredging construction funding. So we received in the recent town meeting from CPA, we received $500,000. This request is for $250,000. The remaining $1.75 million would be from town capital funding. So that's obviously, will come to the Natural Resources Commission for design approval for sediment removal approval. I think likely next year, spring, early summer. So that's the biggest one that's been an ongoing one. And that was obviously recommended in the 2012 Warner's Pond Watershed Management Plan as really a viable solution to improve the ecological health of the pond and improve paddler recreational access. It would be limited dredging of about 7 acres of the pond. The pond is about 56 acres. So what's in front of the CPA from natural resources standpoint? Judy, I don't know what the amount available is, but I know that
we don't know how much is available. We have received applications for $2,276,011. Last year, we had just a bit over, I think, 1.7 million, between 1.7 and 1.8 million. We also, all the money that had been in reserve, I think we allocated that. So it's only the monies that would be available from the funding this year is what we would have to allocate. So we'll have to see. There's a number of town projects. Also, there's White Pond Beach improvements for $300,000. That's one of the big ones that's being recommended. There's the typical ones around housing production plan, the $25,000 for our portion of the regional housing office program, staff and technical services. And those are the ones that typically are there. The other probably big one, or two other big ones that are on in the grant list is for affordable housing buy down. This, I think, would be going into the new fund or whatever it is that we set up at town meeting to be able to move quickly if there's opportunities for affordable housing. The other one is for Wright Tavern to make improvements to that building. Apparently it's getting to a point of not being usable for public use. I think even to the point of being unsafe in some areas. That's for $500,000. And then there's also a couple of other ones, one for 110 Walden Street, which is the Wheeler residence. That's the home where people for aged, I think it is. And then the Masonic Lodge also has requested money. So there's, and the Harrington Wheeler House, and then some money for the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail for the next phase of it. So those are all really good projects. So we'll have to wait and see how much money we get. A lot of good discussion last night, I thought, in terms of your questions around, the funds. I think, I think all of them really ended up with a fair amount of discussion. I think the one topic that kind of came through, which was interesting, and the commission the committee had not thought about before, was the question of, we fund like we do, if for the request for the Rifle Range Trail and for the bridge of where it's like, what's just one portion of it, and then we're going to come back and get some more. And someone was questioning whether that makes sense to do versus just why not get the whole ball of wax at one time and get the project done. So it was an interesting thought. I don't know, what that committee might do with that input. So that's kind of where that committee stands at this point.
And just very quickly on that point, that question was brought up by the select board liaison to the CPC. I was, I didn't mention this in the meeting last night, and maybe I should have, but my experience with the committee over the years has been, they don't want to give any project, somebody comes in and says, well, I'm going to need $1 million for construction, survey, design, and everything along the way.
Mhm.
I'll see you in 7 years when my project is done. CPC has always said to me, and this may change with different committee members, but they've always said to me, come and seek, bite-offable pieces that you can accomplish. Then when that's done, you can come back and, request additional funding if you need to request it from CPA funds.
Yeah, and I know that's always been the discussion since I've been there. So I think that'll probably be, some of the back and forth we'll have. But thanks for bringing that up. I think that's a good point that we should mention.
Yeah, and we're not trying to, on certain projects, like Junction Village, they had to sort of nest egg the amount over several years because the project needed permitting. But when you're thinking of a bridge that needs design and that's all you can get done that year anyways, why would you put in reserve money when it looks this year like you've got at least $500,000 more with requests than you're going to have funds if you're lucky. So
Right.
One of these projects could take up half or three quarters of it if you paid it all 1 year. It would
Yeah.
be. Some of the projects wouldn't get anything for 10 years. And I think it's been, I was on before you, as you know, Judy, and it was policy then. I think it worked quite well.
Yeah, and that's that certainly happened to us last year. And the question was, what can you really spend this year to get something done? And I think to the point around these design projects, and Delia, you did bring it up around the White Pond trail improvements a few years ago. By doing this initial work, then you'll have a much better handle on what specifically to ask for.
Right. So that, part of the design process is to obtain cost estimates. That's the time that we do that so that we can then go and request what we think at the time is, a legitimate request for funding. But the other piece of it too is if I had come in with the White Ponds restoration project 5 years ago and said we needed, $350,000 for the restoration plus, $50,000 for the design plus, whatever it is, then pretty much you're putting you're kicking out everybody else's potential for, there's 16 applications this year. There's always between 20 applications. So that's
Right.
I think that it gets divvied up is that the committee wants to be able to distribute funds to each of the applicants that are, considered good community projects.
Right. The other thing we should think about, I think, is as both a commission, but also perhaps the Trails Committee is, and any other committee is sending a letter of support for the projects. I think that's usually due around mid-November. That we think that these are important projects and they benefit the community. I think that would be beneficial.
Great.
Thanks, Judy. And thanks, Delia. Appreciate that.
Sure.
And Judy, on a separate note, I was at the chair breakfast this morning and there was some conversation about the StarMet project.
Yes.
Anything to report there from your end?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be included in a site visit on that back on late September, I think it was on the 29th or so. It was a site visit that was 4 select board members were there. The 2 co-chairs of the 2229 Main Street Reuse Committee, which are Gary Kleiman and Paul Bain. Of course, the contractors who are working on the site in terms of assessing it and determining the remediation and actually doing some of the remediation on the site already. And then myself, Richard Foreman and Brian, what's Brian's last name, Delia?
Rossborough.
Ross, yeah, thank you. They are 2 community members, but they provided some input into that they wanted to and were allowed to, came to this public meeting. So we toured around the site. It's about a 47-acre site But what's really exciting with regards to NIC, I think for us to consider is the back portion, about 15, 16 acres of that property is but abuts right up. Well, first of all, this property is surrounded on two sides by our trails, by the powder mill trails, and which are ones I walk all the time. And in particular, back there is a sphagnum bog, and it's in great condition. It's a couple of acre bog. It doesn't have any invasives in them. And the contractor, who's the biologist who has gone in and surveyed it, he's done a survey already of the plant life and says that it is in very good condition. It certainly would be an area that we might want to consider recommending to the reuse committee that it be preserved, maybe even deeded over to the NIC so that we can expand that conservation land back behind, that's between Thoreau Hills, through the Thoreau Club and the 2229 Main Street Committee. And then of course the front half of the property is being considered for other types of development. There is a order that has been issued, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's basically the remediation plan has been approved by the court. They've secured the funding, is about $120 million project. They're going to remediate it to residential standards. So it's very, very low in terms of all the different chemicals or heavy metals that may be in there. So it'll be down to that type of level. The town does not specifically own the property right now, and that's part of what the reuse committee is looking at, and the town will have to consider whether they want to take ownership of that property. But the reuse committee is actively looking for ideas, thoughts on what could be done with that property. And it's important now to get that in because what the EPA is doing is that input like that could very much be beneficial in terms of how they go about doing the remediation. If they know what the land's going to be used for, then that will direct them in certain ways of how they spend that $120 million. The other thing that they looked at the plant life, there's a lot of wildlife back in there. They said that there's owls that nest back there. They've seen a lot of mammals back in there. They haven't done a specific fauna inventory, but the flora, he said, was really quite interesting on the, and Delia has the picture up right now. That area right there, that's where the bog is. Now you'll notice right here, up to down right below it, there's a tarp there. That's part of what would have to be cleaned up. Back in the early 50s when nuclear metals moved out from MIT, apparently they had been part of the Manhattan Project, and MIT made them take all the radioactive hoods and lab equipment out of the building down at MIT, said, take it out to Concord, they'll never know it's there. And they dumped it right there. And so that's why there's a tarp on top. No, it's actually a little bit to the right of that, Delia, right there. That's where the hoods and all the stuff from the Manhattan Project have been dumped. They put the tarp on to stabilize it, not let rainwater in, but they, part of the project will be bringing in some sort of image type of thing to determine what's down there. They would dig all that out. They would take out any soil that might be contaminated, and then that would be covered with dirt, clean dirt or clean fill again. But that is a hillside there, so that would be like a nice viewing area. And then Delia can show you where we have conservation land and where the trails are, but they'll connect right directly with the trails that we have back there. So the committee is going to give the report to the select board, I believe, in February or March. So we might want to, at a minimum, write them a letter, they were not really familiar with the land that the town owned around there and where the trails were. So I think us providing information to them on that, and maybe if the commission and Delia thinks it makes sense, say, hey, this would be a great area to preserve and maybe even make into a facility for nature, for students to come out and do nature study, people to be able to observe this swamp, because I think the only one like this in town is over there by River. Yeah, right. So that's what I learned. It was really fascinating to go on the walking tour.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed it. And the other thing that I chatted very briefly with Richard about Richard Foreman about this, and he was mentioning that this holding pond still has, contaminated soils that need to be out to a depth of, I think, 40 feet, Judy, something like
Yes,
that.
that's right. That's right. I forgot to mention that. What they're going to do with that is they're going to dig a trench around the outside of it. They're going to inject concrete down 40 feet to kind of encase it. And then they're going to put in this certain material in the pond itself, also down 40 feet, that just kind of solidifies everything and holds it in place for, I don't know, 500, 1,000 years, longer than we're going to be around, to keep it from seeping out anywhere. Any of the water, groundwater that has been seeping out of the site actually is going to the left and is going over underneath the Assabet River, unfortunately, right to Acton's water supply. And the biggest issue actually, which is being taken care of with a plan, is not radioactive material, but it's actually some industrial solvent, 1,5-dioxane, and that's what they're treating. But that's how they're gonna take that pond and basically just solidify it in place. And of course, there wouldn't be any building on top of that, as I remember. And the area for development would all be where there's current buildings, or on the picture where there shows current buildings. That's what the reuse committee is thinking about, is what sort of use could be for that portion of the property. And then, of course, it's really nice woods. It's a hill, it's hilly there. So down towards the bottom, all that area there is really nicely wooded. And I see a lot of wildlife back in there when I walk on those trails. I've seen fox, I've seen deer, lots of woodpeckers, lots of owls, all sorts of birds. So it's been taken over by the wildlife.
Well, that's good. Thank you, Judy. That's a great update, and certainly $120 million cleanup to residential standards is very significant. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's good to hear that that's the level they're pushing to.
yeah, yeah. That
So
came
Ed, I'm
from
sorry, so,
the committee.
sorry, go ahead, Judy.
That came from the 2229 Main Street Committee that Pam Rockwell is the chair of, and I have to give her and that committee an enormous amount of credit for making sure that happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be very brief, but just moving quickly through the rest of the report. Just an update on pollinator plantings. We did do a lot with pollinator plantings this fall. Barrett's Mill, we put in about 1,000 plantings, plugs right outside of the Red Barn, working with the farmers there. There's some additional that we want to put in around. You'll still see that there's some black plastic covering some pretty vicious poison ivy, but we hope to have that done by the end of this month. And then one of our Haywood Meadow volunteers who lives across from the parking lot at Barrett's Mill put in some plugs there at the parking lot, right next to the sign. So that should be nice to look at next year. Haywood Meadow, Ed, you helped with this. We had a banner day of pulling out a lot of artemisia and ragweed and putting in about, I would say about 75 plugs there. And then Beth Barry Amos, who is one of our trail stewards and lives near Cousins, put in about close to 100 pollinator plugs on that little berm in the back of the field. And she's looking to do more at West Concord Park. So pretty excited about that. That's a big effort. MACC conference is ongoing right now. I'm going to be giving a little presentation on the wildlife underpasses, the Route 2 wildlife underpasses with Chase Bernier with SWCA. He's been doing the monitoring there. So there's a number of other presentations. If the commission wants to sign up, just get in touch with Karen. There are still spaces available. Spotted lanternfly, I don't think this is a big concern for us at the moment, but we did receive notice that a shipment from Pennsylvania of lumber may have come to Concord. This is spotted lanternfly. It is a voracious predator of some tree species, including some agricultural crop species. So if you do think that you see something like this, it's pretty distinct, and I think in pretty much all its forms. I think this is like the egg mass. It's on the bark here. Then let my office know, as well as the state Department of Agriculture. I can get you that information. I actually thought it was on this flyer, but if you're notices, you would have seen this a week or so, 2 weeks or so ago.
Delia, how big is that? How big is the fly?
Boy, I don't know, Judy, but I think,
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I think it's not a small fly.
Hmm.
But there have not been any live lanternflies observed in Massachusetts, so we don't have any evidence. The state doesn't have any evidence that they've been established here. So we want to keep it that way. And then just the final thing is that the town is sponsoring an electric car insights workshop. One was held last night at 5:30, and then there's a second one that it will be rebroadcast on Saturday morning with input from the CSEC members and town staff, I believe. So if you want information about that, just let me know and I can put you in touch. And that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Delia. All right, so we've got a continuance here without discussion. Could I have a motion on that, please?
I move that we continue to November 4th, 2020 without discussion. Notice of intent for Walsh, 150 Garfield Road, DEP file 1371524.
Second.
Okay, take a vote. Greg,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
and Sarah?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we've got the first hearing tonight, which is a continuance of the Harold and Susan Shaw, 43 Old Bedford Road. And who's speaking on behalf of the applicant this evening? Anybody out there on behalf of 43 Old Bedford Road? All right, give it one more call. 43
I'm
Old
just-
Bedford Road.
I'm just looking in the participants and I don't see
You don't see Matt
I don't see Matt in the list
or
of
the owners?
participants here.
Right.
I don't see a Shaw. So you can either undo your camera or raise your hand to the participants if you're here to speak on this application.
You see anyone?
I see a hands up. This is another applicant. So let's see. I'm asking Ying Zhang to unmute.
You
Okay,
raised
I
your hand, Delia?
believe that Ying Zhang
Oh,
is.
sorry. I just don't try because I first time to use it. I tried.
Okay. No worries.
That happens.
No worries. Okay, so Ed will follow up with the representative for this, but I don't see any representative or applicant present for this.
Okay, so I guess if you'll follow up, and I assume we'll continue this to a later meeting once you've touched base with them, Delia?
And we will place this on the November 4th. And I guess because we don't have the applicant here, I would recommend that you just take a vote to continue this out
Okay,
without
I make a
discussion.
motion-
could I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to continue to the November 4th meeting, DEP file number 137-1504, 43 Old Bedford Road.
Second.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, take a roll call vote. Sarah,
Aye.
Greg,
Yeah, aye.
and Judy.
Aye.
And I am I as well. Okay, so moving to the next case. This is the Fenn School, 676 Monument Street. And who'll be speaking on behalf of the applicant this evening?
I will add, it's Derek Bunasar, headmaster at Fenn.
Good to see you, Derek.
Nice to see all of you. Ed, congratulations on your new role. Greg, thanks for your service over time. As
Thank
I
you.
mentioned, folks, good evening. My name is Derek Bunasar. I'm the headmaster at Fenn. I'm in my 3rd year, for those of you whom I have not met, in the position, in my 26th overall in the community. First of all, I hope you and all your loved ones are healthy and safe during these times. I want to introduce David Platt, Jeff Adams, and Dwight Dunk, who are also here with me this evening. After the discussion on October 7th in this space, we submitted follow-up details to our proposal to install a seasonal dock. The four of us appreciate your consideration, this continuance, and the chance to continue the discussion tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just trying to make it a full size. Okay. With that, this is Dwight Dunk from Epsilon Associates, and just wanted to run through quickly that last meeting there was a few detail items that Delia had asked us to submit. We submitted that material on October 9. That was the revised site plan showing the width of the path on the plan. We also updated the pollinator meadow planting plan and updated the dock management plan. We received an email from Delia yesterday with some minor details on those items. And with that, we've submitted a letter electronically to Delia today, just responding to her comments from yesterday, as well as revised plans. And those items were just working on some of the details of extending the path, the path that's shown on here down to the dock area. Number two, just some details on the pollinator meadow plan about the soil, depth of soil replacement, adding erosion sedimentation control between the wetlands and to the plan, the wetlands and the pollinator meadow area. On the plan that was submitted electronically today to the office, that plan shows basically survey markers, phenol markers that would be permanent in the ground, noting that that's a no mow area. And also T-stakes, temporary, the metal fence posts, so that the mowers can see the limit of the pollinator meadow to make sure that the mowing doesn't, have any incursion into the pollinator meadow areas. And then a detail on the dock plan, just to note that the boat and the canoes, when they're on shore during the boating season and not being used, they will actually be placed on the racks, not just left on the ground. And then lastly, Delia had commented about the spring season, not putting the floats in until May 15th, having that season be May 15th to October 31st. We were just commenting that the spring sports season for Fen starts in April. So we'd like to still intend to be authorized to install the docks April 1st, leave them in through October 31st, acknowledging that in a natural setting like this, the actual time, would be dependent upon river conditions and weather. So that April 1st is the beginning date at which they could be installed, and then, based on those conditions, they would be installed, at on or after April 1st. So with that, I think we've identified all of the information, supplied all the information that the commission has asked for, and with that, open up to any questions from the commissioners.
Okay, thank you, Dwight. I do appreciate, I think Greg was on this last hearing, the management plan that seemed to be submitted. Seemed like it was kind of covered most of the points that were asked to be covered, so we appreciate that. I did note that there seemed to be some just very minor inconsistencies in terms of the plan, as well as the cover letter. One mentioned a 12-foot path, one mentioned a 10-foot path. I noted that there was a picnic table noted, a mention of a Gator tractor that would be obviously assisting with maybe moving some of the equipment on a seasonal basis, but it was mentioned for maintenance. So just wanted to reinforce that these are all kind of temporary structures, within the bounds, and certainly would like to, understand that if there's anything else out there, we'd just like to be kept apprised of that going forward. Let's see. As far as the, I guess the other thing that I would just note prior to turning it over to the commissioners for their comments is that I know last time there was a, very significant request to perhaps put a CR in 5 acres of the property. Certainly would show great leadership in the community and to the environment. And it's certainly a strong support. And obviously that was deferred by Fen last meeting. Just would want to make that one more, push along that, effort there. Certainly that would be a very significant, show for sustainability in the environment on behalf of the Fen School. And with that, I'll turn it over to the commissioners for any other further comments.
Okay.
Judy?
I had a couple questions on, if the dock will be in from April 1st to October or whatever, but, and there's, especially in the springtime, floods are not unusual. What would be the plans and how would you handle it if, as the dock is in the water already, that the river starts to flood? What would be the approach to deal with that?
Yeah, so it's written in the dock management plan is, with floods, with storms that are predicted to have flooding of, several feet that, basically up to about the 10-year flood, to tie off the dock. There are going to be davits on the dock to tie that off to adjacent trees just to give that extra stability, because those posts are, 1.5-inch diameter. That's really just to keep them in place with normal flow. When there's a storm predicted that's going to have flooding greater than that, then with that, storm prediction, the floats will be removed from the river and brought up on land outside the 100-year flood elevation.
Okay. And then, so they would just be, since it would be temporary, just the plan would be take them out, store them outside of the 50. Is that what the thought is, or?
I think it would be safest since, flooding, we can't always predict it exactly. It would probably be safer to put it outside the 100-year flood elevation. Those are shown on the plans, so we can, Fen can have some landmarks to identify about where that is and store them out there.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is related to, and I wasn't, it's clarification for me. So there's the boat, the motorboat that I think I read weighs about 800 pounds. Is the intent that that will be taken in and out of the river, or taken out of the river and put back in daily during the time it's used?
I didn't identify any weights of a motorboat.
Oh, okay. I must have misread that.
So that was my, sorry, that was my, just looking at what a 14-foot boat weighed. And that was just an approximate weight that I come up with just Googling a weight of that size boat, electric boat.
Dwight, I could just, I mean, the boat that we're talking about is like an old kind of rowboat that we put a small outboard, little, 5-10 mile per hour engine on. So it's definitely not a heavy weight. It's the kind of thing 2 people can carry.
Oh, okay.
It's like a pram or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking 800
haven't
pounds every day
purchased
would be a bit much.
We haven't purchased it.
And per the conversation last time, we just wanted to put a size limit of not greater than, 14 feet, just so that people don't think it's going to be a, big bass boat or something like that. Just.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be, if it moves beyond the rowboat to something that's more substantial, would be concerned about that going in and out of the river every day and the impact on the boundaries.
I'd like to build on that if I may. So I'd just like to clarify the number of boats. So you say here a maximum of up to 22 boats. Presumably the motorboat is an extra one on top of that. And then you say, and possibly kayaks. So are you thinking of kayaks on top of that 22 boats or kayaks instead of the 22 boats?
I think it's meant to
The
be a
canoes.
mixture of boats.
A mixture of canoes and kayaks.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it's meant to be.
Okay.
Yeah, the number of racks that were identified would be, that a max of 24 slots. So it would, we're talking 22 boats that would be a mix of canoes and kayaks.
Okay. Plus
Okay,
one
great.
motorboat.
If I could, I want to second Ed's thinking to you. I think I'm addressing, I think Derek and Jeff on this more than anyone else. And that is, it sure would be nice when you're talking, and we know you haven't a master plan on all your land, therefore it's very difficult to say what you can do with the remainder and where you can put a CR, but we sure would appreciate that you guys would put that into the conversation when you're talking with the rest of the board, that the town would sure like consideration of something of that nature, and it might prove beneficial to the student life there, but and because you could maybe use it for a lot of classroom space. I do appreciate finally getting a management plan that kind of covers all and encloses the box, and I think we're darn close to being. Not sure we can act tonight because we just got it today, but I'm sure we maybe could at the future meeting. But it's nice to get it buttoned up, and I think we have. And I just want to say, as a result of staff, just want to point out thank God for our staff that they send things out intermittently so that you guys can respond and we can move this down. Otherwise, we'd be waiting for 2 more meetings. So I think I just want to thank staff for doing that so we can pull this to a close. That's
Yeah,
all.
thanks, Greg. Absolutely. Okay, with that, we'll turn it over to any public comment. If there's anybody out there that would like to comment on the proposal here. Dwight? You've
Yeah,
raised your hand.
just want to comment on that last comment by Commissioner Higgins. The edits to the boat management, the dock management plan and the pollinator meadow plan from what was submitted today versus October 9 on the dock management plan. It was just specifying that, that the docks wouldn't just be on shore, but they would be on shore and in the racks. And then for the pollinator plan, the detail there was, the depth of soil be in 9 inches, removing 9 inches, or to the depth of roots, whichever is greater. So it's a minimum of 9-inch removal. So those are, in terms of what the difference between what was submitted on October 9 and what was provided today is very minimal. It's, Delia being very careful in reading everything and making sure we cross our T's and dot our I's.
Well, and I would just add that it was also just including information that the commission expects to see on a plan, the additional controls, notes on the plan, showing the pheno markers. Those are just standard things that
And showing the
we try
path
to
going all
just
the way
relay
out.
that to you as
Right.
a courtesy in advance of the meeting so that you have a heads up. It's
Yeah.
not to sort of rush in a plan an hour before the meeting, but to
Right.
just kind of give you a heads up that that's going to be what's on the docket.
I think my comment, Dwight, is some of these may be minor, but we have a problem communicating long-term what happens at a particular time. Ergo, we want everything on the plan that we can get on a plan to be correct and be as complete as possible. And frankly, we don't consider those to be minor issues because you're going to work from this and be able to give this plan to a construction person or whatever. And they'll say, oh, where's the path come out? Oh, it comes out right about here because it's right here on the plan. That's not a minor thing. Although considering the amount of discussion we've had about it, it sure seems minor to both you and me, but I don't think it's necessarily minor in the end result. That's not to be argumentative, but thanks anyways. I'll just shut up.
Thanks, Greg. Delia, just circling back to the public, did you see anybody, any hands raised for public comment?
I do not.
Okay. Well, I think with that, given that there's some notations to be added to the plan, incorporating some of the comments that were received later today, if the applicant is agreeable, we'll move this to the November 4th meeting, and perhaps we'll have a motion at that moment, at that time.
Yes.
We need a motion to move it to, no, okay.
I don't think we need a motion to continue. I think we're good with that as long as the applicant is agreeable to moving to the 4th.
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it would just be great to clarify. I don't think, like, after the last meeting, we had to make sure to get some things submitted by noon on the
I think
Friday
it's
right
noon
after.
on Friday, yeah.
Is there anything further? So we're set to, because I know we submitted stuff today that couldn't be part of tonight's, but
Correct.
At which nobody's had a chance to look at. So
no, okay,
take a look at that, and if there are any questions or comments, we'll let you know so that you
perfect. Okay, great.
can have it in
Thanks.
time for the next submittal.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. The next hearing, 20 Ridgeway Road, David and Dara Yokin.
Hello,
Hey, how are you?
doing well. How are you?
Very good.
Excellent. Yeah, this is David Yokin. I'm the homeowner at 20 Ridgeway Road. As the commission may recall, we presented our plan to renovate our landscaping and to install a deck and a patio at our property in the interest of safety and accessibility to and around our house. And certainly appreciate the opportunity to present a revised plan based on the gracious feedback and patience you guys have provided us throughout this process and at the meeting on September 16th. We also had some deficiencies with our application, which we've tried to remedy, including submitting a 50-foot waiver request for new structures, an operations and maintenance plan for porous pavement, and clarification and further specifications on our proposed mitigation plan. And in terms of addressing the issues that were brought up at the September 16th meeting, there was a specific focus on the deck that we had proposed, sort of, and its encroachment on the delineated wetlands within the 50-foot. And we had discussed the fact that there was a pre-existing sort of non-conforming structure, which was the previous house that had been torn down by a developer a few years ago and rebuilt, where we intend to place our deck. And what we did is we actually, we reduced the size and the footprint of the deck by 45 square feet within the 50-foot buffer zone. And the deck is now no closer to the delineated wetlands at 42 feet than the closest point on the existing house, which is at 41 feet, 10 and a half inches. So we feel that that satisfies the requirement that we discussed at the September meeting. We also did the same thing with the proposed patio in the 50-foot. We removed the originally proposed stone wall that was running along the southeastern edge of the patio, and we reduced the size and the footprint of the patio itself by 40 square feet. It is now conforming to that same requirement, so that the patio itself is no closer to the delineated wetlands at 42 feet than the closest point on the existing house, which is 41 feet, 10 and a half inches. We've included as you can see, the lines measuring the closest distance to the delineated wetlands in the landscape plan. So everyone can see visually what we did and what we've removed from the previous proposed plan. In addition, we've essentially comprehensively revised our mitigation plan. We plan to remove all invasive plantings and trees throughout the primary area of delineated wetlands. We actually walked through this area of the property with Delia, who came on site graciously a few weeks ago to help us figure out the newly revised mitigation plan. And we're going to be removing bittersweet and buckthorn invasive plants. We're going to be removing 6 Norway maple trees. And we're going to be installing several pollinator meadows with purple coneflowers, New England aster, black-eyed Susan, and we'll be planting native trees and shrubs within the 50-foot and also in the delineated wetland. So, and one other thing we did is we removed the entire drip edge that we had originally proposed along the south and eastern edges of the deck, all within the 50. So we reduced the total disturbance to the 50-foot buffer zone by about 65%, going from 565 square feet to 200 square feet. So it's a pretty significant reduction. And we feel that, in total, everything that we've done has hopefully satisfied the requirements that we discussed at the September meeting.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate the thorough and thoughtful report. It certainly appears based on the documents I've looked at that you covered all the bases, and the plan was very clear in terms of the, bettering that setback and pushing out of the 50 feet to those limits of the 42 feet setback. So I think from what I can see, it all was accomplished and done very well. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Do the other commissioners have anything to add or comment on?
No.
No, that's great.
Okay. Public, look, any comments from the public in regard to this application? Okay. I'm not seeing any. Delia, are you seeing any on your end? Okay.
I don't.
Okay, so I think we'd be ready for a motion.
I make a motion to close and issue a, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here.
Order of condition.
Order of conditions, thank you. And I'm looking for the, here we go. I was looking for too many things at one time. I make a motion to issue an order of conditions for DEP file 1371544 for 20 Ridgeway Road with findings A and B, standard conditions 1 through 19, special conditions 20 through 56.
Second. Thank you, Greg. And we'll call the vote. Greg,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. Thank you very much. Good luck with
Wonderful.
your project.
Thank you to the commission. We really, really appreciate it.
Likewise. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, new applications this evening. We have Ying Zhang, 449 Strawberry Hill Road, who will be speaking on behalf of the project.
I will be. I'm Curtis Lucille from Stamsky and McNary. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant, as you said, for 449 Strawberry Hill Road.
Great.
I'm joined today by Ying Zhang, the homeowner, as well as Jay Webster, the contracted arborist from Marquee Tree Service. So the existing site, as you can see, has a single family dwelling. It has a wetland within a circle driveway that's connected to wetlands to the north. And that's also connected to wetlands to the west, under a second culvert there. The proposed project is for the removal of 61 trees within the 100-foot buffer zone, 4 of which are within the wetland themselves. All trees within 25 feet of the wetland and within the wetland are proposed to be cut to 3-foot stumps to prevent any earthwork that is extremely close to the wetland that could impact it. All of the trees that have been selected have been discussed between the town and Jay Webster, the arborist, as I had said earlier, and that their discussions was how we were able to narrow down to these specific trees. The homeowner believes that these trees provide significant risk to her own home as well as her driveway. Along with the removal of the trees, we are proposing a 250-foot retaining wall that's 2.5 feet high along the western, southern, and eastern sides of the inner driveway circle. This is firstly as a safety precaution. As you can see, it's fairly steep inside the wetland. The homeowners is proposing this partially as a way to prevent any injury or anyone falling down that steep slope there, as well as a way to protect the wetlands. The homeowner believes that, that by putting this retaining wall in, any debris that could be on the driveway as well as outside of the driveway that tends to flow into the wetland itself could be prevented, and to help the wetland from filling up. The applicant also proposes to remove and replace the first culvert that connects the center of the driveway to the northern wetland. It is currently an 8-inch CMP. At the moment, a portion of it is crushed, and it's partially blocked up as well. This is causing the wetland to flood during times of heavy rain and flood over the driveway rather than going through the pipe like it's supposed to. The intention of replacing it is to prevent that from happening and let the water go between both wetlands as it should. Lastly, the applicant is proposing to remove and repave the existing driveway in the exact same conditions it's in, no extensions, leaving it the same way, but it is in some pretty rough shape right now, and the plan is to fix that. Currently, there's no formal mitigation plan proposed. We had BNC Associates out on the property this week. He was Dave Crossman from them was able to identify wetlands throughout the property. Yeah, Dave, if you could move over to that real quick. So as you can see, based on what Dave Crossman was able to provide for us, most of the property that is outside the wetland has problems with invasive species throughout. As I said, with this information, we're trying to determine what is best as far as mitigation. As we're planning to remove trees, how do we balance that out with removal of invasive species and replacement with shrubs? And the applicant is looking to the commission for guidance on how, what volume you are looking for as far as that kind of mitigation, and if removing these invasives and replacing with native plants would be sufficient for what we're proposing. As I had said earlier, Jay Webster has walked the site with Delia, and they've discussed a lot of the trees, and that was what provided us with this selection of trees to remove. Jay, if you want to give any input on that specifically and how those went, I think that would be good.
Okay, I think you're still muted.
How's that?
There you go.
All right. Is my camera working? No. All right. Yeah, I did meet with Delia. We went through many of the trees along the driveway area were selected due to their proximity to the driveway and or condition. Many of the trees were and will be impacted by the installation of the new driveway. So many of the trees were along the driveway. The trees on the north side of the house were selected due to being impacted by the work that's been done, or the fact that they were leaning toward the house. Many of them had a very poor structural condition, and there was some concern about the risk that they represented for the house now that the work has been done. And on the south side, in along the area where the septic system was installed. We went through the pond area, which is the island in the middle of the driveway, and sort of evaluated the trees that had been along the edge. They're really close. There's quite a few that had plow damage, several trees that were dead that have been proposed to be turned into snags. Those were actually along the driveway, and the trees inside the pond area were marked for removal due to structural conditions or their proximity to the driveway. So I think that sort of sums up the reasoning behind the trees that we had selected when we looked at them, and I think that we were in agreement that the trees that we've marked would either impact or be impacted by the driveway and or construction, or represented a level of risk to infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if anybody has any questions about anything specifically on the plan, or if there's anything that I can answer for anybody, I'll do my best.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, I guess I would just have a couple questions. As far as the driveway goes, is this a full reconstruction, rebuild, or is it just some paved, some over paving, or is it a full?
So in parts that are completely damaged, it would be replacing with gravel and then repaving over. I think there are certain parts that are still salvageable, but I think for a large portion of it, it would be a full redo.
Okay, well, that would make sense for the trees near that drive that are going to get rebuilt for sure. And just for my clarification, the trees that are shown here in the plan, are these the 61 trees that are going to be taken down, or are these more than that? And it's just hard to read through which.
So this includes more than that. Our original proposal was for 102 trees. And after some discussion between Delia and Jay and myself and the homeowner, we were able to narrow it down to these that we decided could have an impact on the property itself. The ones that are labeled TBR are the ones that are proposed to be removed at this time.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Can I just make a suggestion with the ones that should be removed? It would be super helpful just to note those in a different color. There's so many trees on the plan, and it's difficult to see which is what.
Yeah, just optically.
Just some way of highlighting what's going and what's staying.
Well, you could have open circles for ones that stay and black dots for ones that are going down.
Good, keep it black and white. That's a good idea.
That's what I'm going to say, Delia. It's really hard to figure.
Yeah, a lot of dots here. And one of the things I think we all noticed the proposed stone wall, 2.5 feet, I think it is in height.
Yeah.
I think you said a retaining wall. And so, with retaining walls usually have footings that may be an L-shaped footing. So it might take a bigger footprint up near the area here. And I would also just note that the stone wall should be placed within the footprint of the driveway.
Okay.
Given its close proximity to the wetlands here.
Okay.
So with that, I'll turn it over to the other commissioners if they have other questions or comments.
Yeah, building on what Ed just mentioned, I was a little confused about this, because if I look at the applications, it's for removal of trees, but it doesn't indicate any construction within our jurisdiction. Is that correct?
So the construction would be the repaving in certain sections that would require a little bit more work of the system of the driveway itself, and the construction of the retaining wall, as well as the removal and replacement of the pipe. But other than that, no structures are proposed.
Yeah. Do we have and again, I apologize, I was looking through and I wasn't able to find it yet. Do we have any square footage of the amount of disturbance within the jurisdictional areas, like in the 25, the 50, and then
We
between
have
the
a
50?
we have a list of trees that are, I believe I submitted them at one point to Delia, that are specific trees that are within each.
Mhm.
But we haven't calculated the square footage for what it would take to replace the pipe, and theoretically the extent of what replacing the driveway would be.
Well, I think isn't the driveway exempt because it's just over top of the existing driveway?
As long as there's no change in the footprint, but there should be detail on the plan that shows what the full depth reconstruction actually looks like.
Yeah.
And if you're proposing different treatments in different areas, that should be noted on the plan, what's getting what.
Yeah,
treatment.
right. But if there's like, it seems like to replace the pipes on the culverts, you're gonna have at least some temporary disturbance
Yes, and there would be
within.
temporary disturbance
Yeah,
as well.
and so I think a chart showing where there's temporary disturbance within the boundary, within the jurisdictional areas. And then also if that stone wall is going to be newly disturbed within the 25 and the 50 or the 100, you know, and within our area, square footage of new disturbance on the wall. Because the
And I
drawing
think
makes it, the drawing
think
makes
that's
it look like
right.
it's not on top of the driveway, correct?
It's not clear to me on that point.
Yeah,
It wasn't originally proposed on top of the driveway, but that's something we could push it out to limit the disturbance it causes.
yeah, we just need to have that clearly defined on the drawing, what it's going to
Okay.
be.
Yeah,
Before
it'd
we
be
have
helpful to
further
have it.
discussion on it, and then how much disturbance, because that's also gonna impact your mitigation.
Okay.
And
Well,
a
it
lot
also
of, I mean, I would just
provides
point out that, Ed brings up a good point that needs to be within the driveway footprint because it is all within the 25 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
That's.
Well, I think you'll want an inset on the plan showing what the makeup of that is. And then we know the distance. If we know the width and the distance, we will know the area. And clearly, we would certainly prefer it to be in the current disturbed driveway, as Ed said.
Right,
Well,
I-
the 25 is a no disturb. It's not,
Right.
it's not in the 50, it's in the 25.
Yeah. And I also think to get a detail on that section through the wall and the proposed where it lands on the driveway and how it's supported would be helpful as well.
Okay.
One question I have on the wall, I know I think it was stated it was 240 feet, and I
50.
certainly understand that where you see the topography dropping off.
Mhm.
Just wondering if it could be at all be shortened on the ends where it seems to level back off, so you could try to mitigate the length of that wall.
That's something we can discuss. The homeowner, Ying, if you would like to comment on that, if you'd be okay with that, happy to hear from you regarding that.
Not to put you on the spot or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, but
Yes.
What would you
But-
need Ying to clarify, please?
so
Please say it
so if
again.
we were to shorten the retaining wall, would that be something, not make it go all the way up along the driveway to the culvert, but pull it back to maybe even
Yeah.
where it starts to smooth out a little bit slope wise?
Yes, can be short because that's
Okay.
it's maybe start at a higher level.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's something we can do.
Half.
Well, that would be great. Appreciate the
Yeah.
consideration.
I can see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Thank
I
you.
wondered if, yes, I have a question. So I wondered, I'm not sure if it's in here, I couldn't see it, what your thoughts are about what time of year you're going to remove all these trees, because I wonder if we need to be careful about nesting birds and that sort of thing, if there's a specific time that should be avoided. And I guess that's really a question for Delia.
Yeah, Jay, would you mind commenting on that? I think you might have a better answer than me.
嗯
And I think ideally that you would do it outside the breeding season because it is such a
Right.
Yeah.
number.
Good
Yeah.
point.
So,
Yeah.
you know, prior to, you know, April 1st, April.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I
uh,
already hired, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I
No,
think the
yeah,
operator can.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I already hired the Mario's company to remove that. So I get a schedule. It's November 3rd,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
yeah, so that is I get a schedule that day.
Yeah. I think that doing it this late in the season, there really shouldn't be anything to worry about as far as the concern that was raised about nesting. We're doing it middle, late November, so
Great.
we shouldn't have any issues as far as the nesting goes.
Great. Thank you.
What's the method for the removal of the tree? How will that be accomplished?
So we will remove all of the trees with a crane. We're going to utilize a crane to do that, and the crane will come in at various spots along the existing driveway and set up. The trees will be dismantled in sections and lowered down onto the driveway, processed on the driveway. The chips will be blown into the back of the truck, and all the material will be hauled off site. The logs will be set in the designated locations and then removed in as timely manner as possible. We should most likely have them, the log truck removing the logs either that day or once work is complete at the end of the day. Given proper situations, taking into account weather and that type of thing.
Okay.
And I think it was also noted that that the house was recently renovated, and as part of that work, the CR was disturbed adjacent to the house, and that might need a little attention in terms of some mitigation back there and restoration.
So, I'm just going to clarify something. This clearing was done prior to the renovations. I looked back at the old plan that the septic was submitted for, and it included this area of clearing.
Okay.
I don't know whether, you know, we got something from Stamsky that said the contractor said these trees weren't, you know, disturbed or removed or anything like that, but this area should have some restoration effort put towards it. We'll point out that when I was on site taking a look at the trees, that this whole area where presumably the septic installation and the construction. So another comment, Curtis, you're aware that, you know, there's an addition here, there's some decks over here. Those should be shown on the plan because we're not most recent plan. There's a septic system over here. So it looks like what happened was the contractor came in and accessed, you know, kind of from this area to construct and then came around, presumably, maybe they came from here, but this whole area has been compacted and is in pretty rough shape. I think they came around here. They've compromised, you know, some of these trees in this area here, even on the homeowner's property. So that's unfortunate that the contractor is kind of maybe a little freewheeling in that. I guess just going back to the initial question, you said you're looking for guidance on what the, you know, commission might look for in terms of all these trees to be removed. Just to sort of maybe bookmark the discussion a little bit to give you some guidance, and, you know, commissioners weigh in on this, but, you know, if it's 61 or 62 trees at this point, and we assume that they have, you know, an on-center spacing of 100 feet, then I think that is a number, you know, and it's not an unmanageable number. It's, you know, 6,000 square feet or 62 or whatever it is at a minimum that should be looked at for the tree removals in terms of an invasive species management. There's not weed out there, and that would be, I would suggest, the most primary concern to be addressed. But then those areas that are outside of, you know, that the contractor has disturbed, there should be some provisions for that being included in the restoration plan as well. 'Cause
So at the moment,
nothing is going to grow in those areas.
so at the moment, we do have a note on the plan in the corner saying that disturbed areas will be loamed and seeded naturally.
You're gonna need a little more than loam and
I
seed.
understand that. Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah. Delia, where is the conservation restriction? I'm not clear looking at the plan.
So that's
Good question. So that should probably be noted on the plan as well. Wherever it says Hammond Chase Trust. So it's
Yeah.
this,
so basically outside
the
the lot
south
line
and the east.
to that, on that side.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that would be helpful to put on the plan to.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Guess we'll turn to the public if they have any comments, if there's somebody out there that would like to speak to this application. Not seeing any. Okay. All right, so I guess obviously a ways to go here. A lot of clarifications, mitigation, construction details, CR restoration, etc. So again, if the applicant is agreeable, we'll plan on moving this to the November 4th hearing.
Okay. Ying, is that okay with you?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll plan on seeing you back. Delia, any for additional documentation, Friday?
Yeah, so Curtis, you have the list of information that we need.
Yeah.
And preferably it comes through in one submittal. I spoke earlier today, if you want to carve off your piece and just submit that, with a copy to Curtis of what you're submitting on your letterhead, that would be fine too. Hopefully you can get all of these items kind of wrapped up and together. And if everything looks good, we'll get an order drafted, because I know, Ying, that you're anxious to get the work. Sounds like you had it scheduled for November 3rd, which obviously can't happen, but we'll try to move this as quickly as we can. So just go through that checklist, Curtis, and, full complete responses with full comprehensive information for what the community needs would be great.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next hearing will be Vanny Bucci, 362 Border Road.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hi.
So thanks for the opportunity to speak to talk to you today. So we just moved here on 362 Border Road a few months ago, and so we are here today for the removal of 6 alive between 70 and 85 white pines and 1 dead elm, which are basically in the slope between our property and the brook and our driveway that it's in front of our house. And so, we have no project or renovation or plans. The issue is that in the summer storms that we had, branches fell from the tree and hit the house. And so I contacted an arborist and asked him, can you give me an idea what's going on? And so he, as you can see from the report, he made a kind of a risk evaluation plan, right? So these are white pines. 2 of them are actually splitting in these multiple structural branches. And so, as you can see, exactly. So, there's, these are very close to the house. And so nothing is basically for safety. We are not doing any renovation or proposing anything new. It's just to make sure that the house doesn't get hit. And as you can see from the arborist, this is tree number 1. You can see the branches are right on top of the house. One fell and hit the gutter right at the corner. These right there above that little porch. Then we have this next to it. If you face the river, there's this cluster of trees, 2, 3, and 4, which are, within 10 to 15 feet from the property. Behind them is this dead elm tree, which actually I think you guys already approved. I got an email that I think you guys already approved that we could cut it. And then, going kind of upstream. So if you guys scroll a little bit down, there's these 2 more trees. There's this big white pine, which is the closest to the house. And then on the hill between our property and our neighbor property, there is this other large pine that splits in 3. And so, we're basically looking for approval to remove them. We have a management some mitigation plans, which is a 2-to-1 planting of native species and shrubs. We're keeping the stumps, so we're not doing any stump grinding for erosion control. And that's really it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Vanny. Just by looking at the trees and their proximity and knowing the shallow root systems of the white pines, it seems like it's fairly a good measure to be safe and have these removed.
Yeah.
But any other comments from the commissioners in regard to this?
I guess I actually live a few houses down from Vanny, and having the pine trees he described, there's a number of them about the same age throughout a neighborhood, and our next door neighbor had ones very similar to the ones that he's proposing taking out, actually fall and take out their deck. So the ones in the neighborhood that are coming down.
Yeah.
Unplanned.
Yeah, better to plan. Other than that, I think staff recommended putting some straw wattles on the northern edge, given that that's kind of downstream from the trees toward the brook, just to protect that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, any other comments from the commissioners? If not, we'll go to the public. Any comment from the public in regard to the proposal here? Okay. I guess with that, I'll be looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion. I move to issue a negative determination of applicability number 3 upon receipt of a revised site plan with the following conditions. 1, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with the department staff and the contractor to review erosion controls, silt fence and stake wattles we just spoke about, and limits of the work. Number 2, all disturbed areas shall be loamed and seeded. Number 3, the trees shall be cut, stumped, and left in place. After the project has been completed, the applicant should submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with all the conditions of this determination of applicability. Any changes from the RDA shall be described on that document.
Thanks, Greg. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll take a vote. Judy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Take care. All right. Habitat for Humanity, 903 Main Street. Who'll be speaking on behalf of the applicant?
Coming alive. This is Jeffrey Brem. I'm with Mazda Brem Corporation. Also tonight is Brenda Gould. And Brenda, you there as well?
I am.
Great.
Why don't you get started, Brenda, and then I'll talk about the technical details. Tell us who Habitat is, why we're working on this property and so forth.
Okay. So I'm Brenda Gould. I'm the executive director. I just want to make one correction. It's 930 Main Street. I think, Ed, you said 903. So I just want to make sure we have the right property. This is a property, a house. There's already a house, existing house, that the owners, the original owner's father built. And we had a great partnership we have with the town. We purchased this house along with the Concord Housing Foundation, the Concord Housing Development Corporation, the CPC funds, and the town of Concord, along with Habitat, to purchase this house in order to make it affordable. Habitat works with under 65%. This house will be of the area median income. And the house really lends itself to being a two-family with 2 bedrooms on the lower level and a bathroom, and 3 bedrooms and a bathroom on the upper level, which actually already exists. There's a big need for affordable housing, as we all know, and there is a huge need as well for 2-bedroom units. We've already gone through planning and zoning, and I have met with, we've submitted a tree protection plan and to Liz McKinley about the trees. I think we have a couple of changes due to some trees that, another tree that was considered damaged and has diseased. But we are proposing, as you can see, to make this existing garage into a kind of a storage unit for these families, because they have to have some place to put things. So we are looking for obviously approval to convert this, which I believe we already have, into a duplex, and to construct an addition and 2 decks within the 100-foot buffer zone with bordering vegetation, wetlands.
Good.
Thanks, Brenda.
If I could continue, Mr. Chairman, and I'll just refer to the issues at hand with conservation. So first of all, the trees that Brenda was mentioning were all outside the buffer zone along Main Street. So I don't want you to get confused, because of the other applicants were taking down trees where none of the work we're doing is going to take down trees in the buffer zone. So, right, there's the buffer zone right there. So going from the wetland back, you'll see the first 50 feet, no build zone, we're not doing anything in. And the work that we're doing to transfer this building from a single family to a 2-family is mostly in the basement, turning the basement into a unit. In order to do that, we have to get down to the basement. There's a staircase going to be built inside between the existing garage and the existing dwelling. There's enough land there. And you'll see at the very front where it's grade, there's some doors and closet ways so that we can get into the building in a new, basically a new tiny little addition. And then we go down the stairs. So that's all in the front, and that's at the edge of the 100-foot buffer zone. Also, you'll see an access way on the other side of the building inside the edge of the 100-foot buffer zone, and that's a requirement for egress, that staircase and that access there. And a little bit of work for a turnaround for the 2 parking spaces that you see right there. And it's a very dangerous, we're not too far from Route 2, and a bunch of us determined, including Planning Board and Board of Appeals, that it would be better to create something other than what is currently there, which is just you drive into that garage area. So we proposed sort of a turnaround, a circle. And by having that circle, we are required to have 3 spaces. So 1 space is in front of the garage and 2 spaces are off to the left of that plan. And then having the circle will be certainly much safer. And everybody's agreed to that, and that's been approved. Just a tiny bit of work is in the buffer zone there. And then the last thing that we're doing, and they're probably the one that's most of concern, is we have an existing patio all in the back. That's a raised deck and a patio above it. We're taking off the deck completely, and we're leaving we're rebuilding the part of the patio, and then that gray area there is an extension of a deck and an egress, and that's the egress from the lower level. So that's the required egress. So that stairs, just where Delia's got her hand there, that is the only work that's really closer to the wetland. And it's just a staircase required for egress. And you'll see right near that hand, you'll see 0.7 feet existing. Unfortunately, the garage was built over the property line. And just as an aside, we're working with the State Department of Transportation, which owns that lot, to work that out. They've agreed to provide an easement the details of which are much more complicated than you probably want to hear about. But we're working with them, and they will be done probably, it'll take almost a whole year, which is fine because it's going to take us a year to build this work. So in that time, we'll resolve that. Planning and zoning, we're concerned with that. I'm sure you're not, but just in case you were wondering what that is. That's where we are at. We have a water line, about 55 feet from the work, and that's the limit of any work that we would be doing, including any kind of lawn work in the back. You'll see we put a wattle just outside the 50-foot line. It's sort of a protection. We don't expect to really do need much erosion, but if we didn't have that there, then probably that's when erosion would happen. So it's kind of like an umbrella. We'll put it there and it won't rain.
There you go. Well, thank you, Jeff and Brenda. Yeah, obviously a great project. Can't get enough affordable housing, as you note. So certainly seems like a very, very good project at this point. I think Delia, you had mentioned a couple of things like soil pile, stockpile. I think those are all noted on this plan.
Yep, I'm sorry. Yeah, in the front we showed the stockpile. Any material for, like, we're going to build the sewer line, we got to bring in stone. Where are they going to put the stone? These are really good comments that Delia brought up, and they're outside the buffer zone.
Okay.
And I'll just point out those were Colleen's comments. So.
Oh, sorry.
Credit where credit's
Colleen.
due.
Thank you.
Any of the commissioners have some commentary on this?
No.
Is it my understanding that the backyard here is basically lawn currently?
It is. It's lawn all the way up pretty much to the wetland edge.
Are we going to in any way ask that the 25-foot have some demarcation and let go wild? Are we going to do that? We lots of times do that. I'm just curious.
Yeah. It's a fair question.
I mean, it's a common practice that we have.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, we put in markers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we have no problem with putting in markers. We have.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to do too heavy a lifting, but it would be nice if we could let that sort of not be mowed every week and as a lawn. That would be nice.
Yeah. There's also a, Jeff, I don't know if it's noted on here. There's a stone wall, a small stone wall, I think, back there. That might be a natural, place to do what Greg is suggesting.
Yeah, that something like that would be fine. I don't want to make a big deal.
We'll put some posts. We'll put some posts and signs on there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, so I assume if that gets, well, I guess, does that have to be added to the plan, Delia?
Yeah, so it should be on the plan. Where do you think the stone wall is in relation to the 25-foot?
I think it's further than 25 feet, actually. Brenda, how far back from the patio is it? About 40 feet?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think
like,
it's outside the 25 feet. So
Yeah.
we could say along the stone wall. And I'll go out there if you want, Delia, and I won't survey it per se, but I'll do some scale measurements and I'll put it on the plan.
So so we would want to issue this determination pending receipt of revised plans?
That's fine.
We issue these on Friday, so is that something that you would be able to do tomorrow? We don't want to hold up your projects, but
I will do it tomorrow. I have a 2-hour Zoom call in the morning, and then I'll do it in the
so
afternoon.
you'll want a field trip.
Yes, I'll do a field trip. Thank you.
Jeff, if there's something I can do, go out and take pictures or something, I'm happy to do that.
No, I'll do it on my way in tomorrow.
And Delia, with that, I assume we can take a motion tonight?
Yes, so you would just want to revise, we would add in another condition that said,
Condition of 4, yeah.
so do you want to, yeah, I mean, so if the stone wall, you said 40 feet from the back of the house.
Yeah, so it'll be definitely past 25 feet. It'll be right
So
where about
somewhere
where
in-
your hand is, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. So if you want to say that,
Can we keep it simple and just say that let me look at it. We might be able to, I'm sorry for being a pain in the neck. I didn't anticipate this. On the north, that no mowing will occur to the north of the existing stone wall. If we just put that note on the plan, nobody has to go out there or do anything, right?
I think the stone wall should be in the plan for the file.
Okay, okay.
I have no problem going there morning. I mean, I really don't, it was been a while since I've seen it, so I don't want to say where it is and find out it's 15 feet from the wetland. So I
Okay,
think it should say
good point.
25 feet. We'll put posts every 25
So-
feet at the 25-foot line and then or the wall whichever's further.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay, there
good
you go.
because, and that actually would save you, Jeff, from going back out. And Greg, I think you're right. There's no need to make it more complicated. So
Right.
Could I just ask a question though? So
Yeah.
does the stone wall go all the way across?
No.
Okay, so because I was just wondering about the proposed wattles and whether the fact there's a wall there makes a difference to whether you need the wattles, but
No, I don't think it goes all the way across.
okay,
No, it doesn't.
There you go.
Looked at it today when I was out there, but I don't think so.
okay.
So Delia, to be clear, do we want to add a condition to this motion?
Yeah.
this evening?
I think that you do, and maybe Jeff, you don't have to go out tomorrow, but the condition can be something along the lines of an annual mow, an annual late season mow beyond the limits of the wall.
Maybe an annual season at least 25 feet away from.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at least 25 feet away. And I would probably reference the wall in there somewhere just because you know that's a given feature.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to have that on the plan, Jeff. It doesn't have to be Friday, but just so that we can get that at some point
Certainly.
prior to the building permit.
Okay.
Okay. Judy, you want to make a motion on this one?
I knew I shouldn't have opened my mouth. There you go.
You were leading.
You're so good at it.
This is Greg's fault. No, okay, I move to issue negative determination of applicability number 3 for DEP file. Let me get the right file number here. RDA file 20-14 with the following conditions. Number 1, a pre-construction site visit shall be held with DNR staff and the contractor to review erosion controls, staked straw wattles, and limits of work. Number 2, all disturbed areas shall be loamed and seeded. Number 3, after the project has been completed, the applicant shall submit a letter to the NRC stating that all work has been conducted in accordance with all conditions of this determination of applicability. Any changes from the RDA shall be described. And condition number 4, that there will be an annual mow allowed at only an annual
November
mow
15th and
allowed
April.
at least 25 feet from the edge of the wetland and preferably in line with the stone wall.
We have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Greg. Take
And I
a
would
vote.
just note that the annual mow is between November 15th and April 15th.
Oh, and the annual mows between November 15th and April 15th.
I second the amendment.
Okay. So a vote. Sarah,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I am I as well.
Did we ask the public, by the way, on this one?
Oh,
No. Thank you, Greg. Any public comment here on this application?
I don't think there is any.
No, I don't think so, but without
Thank you,
asking
Greg.
Jeff, we could be
Mhm.
in the water.
No, thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
thank you very much.
Thank you very
guys.
much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have-
Take care.
Keep an eye on the progress. It's going to take us a while, but we'll get it done.
All right, good luck.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the last hearing of the evening. 399 Lowell Road, Julia Minor and John Caldwell. How you guys doing?
Great. Nice to see everybody.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you all, commissioners, for all your hard work and the staff. Why I have an echo, I'm not sure why. Oh, anyway. John's coming into the room. And
Oh, there you go.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to thank Delia and the staff for helping me through this application. And
You've done a great job, Julia.
Oh, well, thank you. So I guess it's best if, yeah, you can share it. Let me just pick, I should have been ready by now, but I just want to get the letter so I can describe what's going on. Okay, so we are building, well, the existing site, as you can see, there's a small cape close to the road. It's a 4.23 acre site that goes back to the Assabet River. It's long and narrow, which is on the first page of the site plan. And we have an existing concrete foundation and asphalt driveway, which we want to take out and put in a mudroom and barn that are attached to the house. And the barn will have a 2-car garage, small workspace on the first floor, and then a 4th bedroom kind of studio apartment, ADU, but just a 4th bedroom for the house with storage next to it upstairs. So let's see, I described the forested area, but this area that we're going to be building in, as you can see, is just about the first quarter of our site, and it's all open, manicured landscape, grassy with a woodland. The only tree that we'll be taking out is not in the buffer zone. It's right here. It's an old chestnut tree. Unfortunately, it's beautiful, but we need to do that. And you can see the 100-foot buffer zone is here. So what we have, I'm sorry, I'm using my cursor, which you can't see. So the proposed garage is half, and mudroom are halfway into the 100-foot buffer.
Julia, I can share this with you if that's easier.
Oh, so I can actually, yeah.
Do you want to, I can drive this for you, or you can
Oh,
take.
you want me to share my screen? That could work. Or we can just share this would be great.
Tell me what you want to do.
Let's just share this one.
Okay.
I'm not sure I have everything up. So can you see my cursor now?
Oh, no. Okay, so I'm going to stop this share and give me 1 second. I'm gonna let's see. Okay, I'm gonna close this, and why don't you try sharing now?
Oh, okay. There we go. So you have seen this on Delia's screen. Can you see it okay on mine? Is it large enough?
Fine.
Make it a little bit bigger.
Mhm.
There we go.
That's good.
There we go.
Yeah, so the barn and mudroom really are phase 1 of a project. The phase 2 will be renovating our house, which will not increase the footprint, but we will be doing landscape work, which is of concern to the NRC. So what we are proposing is the garage, taking out this asphalt part of the driveway and this concrete foundation, and then changing the walkway in front to bluestone stepping stones. This is existing stepping stones here, creating a parking for 2 cars area here, which will also be a turnaround. And since I did this, it's not in the buffer zone, so I don't think it's, concerning. I hope it's not concerning you, but I think we'll probably make it asphalt because we'll probably be using it so much as a turnaround that the grass is not going to hold up the way I was hoping it would. So new driveway, new walkway here. So this is all outside the buffer zone. The only thing that's in the new build, as Delia caught, I didn't even think about it, but the existing walkway kind of curves like that. So we have a tiny bit in the no build area. Existing brick patio is here. That will pretty much stay the same. We probably will reseed this. For mitigation for this area of the barn, we plan to have a wildflower meadow, or as you've been calling it tonight, pollinator meadow, that will encompass the concrete foundation and the driveway. So it more than compensates for this area in the buffer zone, more than compensates for this area. Wattle, straw wattle is here. Delia asked for more along this area too, so we added that. As you can see, the site from the contours, the site's very flat, so there's not much danger of runoff anyway, and it slopes back toward the back of the site, but we have that there as a precaution. And what else? As you know, this is a man-made kind of ditch along the north part of our site. So that's where the wetlands come along here. The floodplain is way back in the site. You can see it here. Doesn't really affect us. And then the wetlands are beyond that toward the river. Let's see if there's anything else. Just to show you photos of the site, looking back toward the house, the barn would be right in this area. Looking back, the neighbors will be very happy that we're doing this. We've had this pod here for so long, and we're so looking forward to cleaning up the site and making it look good and have some curb appeal. Looking across the site, so you can see it's all grass, which hopefully when this is done will look a lot better than it does now. Oh, and then we will have transplanted, hopefully if they survive and if they're worth transplanting, there's some hollies and rhododendrons around the house that will get transplanted out to this area of the site, to create a little bit more screening along the road.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the presentation. You know, again, it looks like barely in jurisdiction in regard to the addition. So it seems like an appropriate trade-off there in regard to the renaturalization of the back part of the driveway and the former concrete pad. I guess the only thing I was a little surprised about tonight, I wasn't aware of the little foot fault into the 50-foot no build zone. I don't know if I picked that up on the plan or just missed it myself.
There's an existing porch there, if you can see on the existing conditions plan.
Okay.
It's there already. And this is an old brick, kind of 50s looking pathway that so really.
Julie, do you want to zoom in on that?
Sure.
Well,
So
this would be.
It's just a very simple little stoop, and
if you think of.
And so we're bringing because this whole bed area is too big really for our small cape, and we want, the HDC has approved this too. We're looking at more of a country look like you would see on Monument Street, or
sure.
So we're not trying to make this look very suburban. So we're bringing the walkway straight back and closer to the house. Yeah. So really what we're looking at in the no disturb zone is that little kind of triangle right there.
Sure. So it's a replacement in kind with
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's a replacement.
may I point out that in our policy, the remainder of your house there, as you go north, is much closer to the wetlands. So you're
Yeah.
not getting anywhere
Yeah.
near closer to the wetlands. So it's really not heavy lifting for us to accept that,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, and it looks like it's just a little tiny corner
Yeah.
at most.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's the same footprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was kind of hard to tell from the plan.
I know. So Julia, if
Yeah.
you can zoom in on this plan, because we sort of touched on that briefly, but can you just zoom in?
Sure. Well, I'll zoom in on, which plan? This one?
Either one.
Yeah, this shows the existing here and then the proposed. So
Oh, there
the
you go.
proposed is closer. And the proposed will be stepping stones. It won't be solid. It's going to be stepping stone, bluestone. So
Mhm.
Thanks for that clarification. Appreciate it. I didn't have any further comment on the plan. Any of the commissioners have any perspective?
No.
Okay. All right, I think we're ready for a motion then.
Public.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Jesus.
Like I never forgot, Ed.
Any members of the public have any comments on this application? I think we're the only ones left. Okay. Now I think we're ready for a motion.
I'd like to move to close and issue an order of condition at tonight's meeting pending receipt of any revisions on
them.
this plan. We got it, right?
Sorry. These are them. Yes.
With findings A, special conditions, conditions 1 through 19, and special conditions 20 through 52.
Okay, thank you. Any second, please?
Second,
Okay. In the vote, Sarah,
Aye.
Judy,
aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. Thanks very much. Good luck on your project.
well,
Yeah.
thank you all.
Take care.
Thank you, Julia. Would you? Yes. Excellent. Thank you.
Take control. So I think we're down to the COCs
Yes, and a couple of admin approvals.
as well.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you. So the COCs, there are 4 for you. All have been reviewed by staff and all are ready to go. I can run through any of those that you might want to learn more about.
I think I'm good. Anybody else?
In the Shardic Country Club, they had a number of projects, which this one looks pretty old.
This is ancient. This is ancient. This
Yeah.
actually requested to be done in the 80s and was never completed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's going back.
Gwyn was for his initial project for the driveway repaving. We wanted to wait until we had the confirmation that the fence had been taken out of the 50-foot. Middlesex, that was for projects. They had 2 cell tower projects. This one they never went forward with. And so that just is work that was never done. And New England Wildflower Society, they did some work at 299 Estabrook, which was all completed and done quite nicely. They missed the deadline for extending, so they are going to be resubmitting a new application for additional work there at that property.
Is it a property they own, Delia?
No, that's Dinah Buchner's property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I assume we can get one motion for all 4 of these?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificates of compliance for DEP file number 137-1285, DEP file number 137-1312, DEP file number 137-1395, and finally DEP file 137-180.
Thanks, Greg. Second? Do we have one out there?
Second,
Thank you, Judy. And the vote, Judy,
aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. And 2 administrative approvals.
Yes, I'm going to ask Colleen to join us and run us through these. I'm going to drive for you, Colleen. Let me get those up for you.
Hi, Colleen.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
You guys are still hanging in there. You're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
great.
We got a
All
new
right.
chair. He moves things faster than that old one did.
different kind of ball game with a new person. But all right, so the admin approvals at 189 Conant Street. It's about after the high wind storm about a week ago. We got a call from Robert Norton, who is the homeowner. And he had 2 emergency tree removals he wanted to do. One is a maple, that's the one on the left, that's kind of split in half. And then the other one next to it is the catalpa. They're about 90 feet away from the wetlands. And he said he was going to be replacing them with 3 pear trees closer to his driveway. So it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Go
Seems
for
pretty
it.
straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, do you guys make do you make a motion for these? Okay.
No.
So then the second one is 701 Barrett's Mill Road. The homeowner CC Grove. She wants to remove some limbs off of some of her trees. There's about 3 of them. I don't know, do you have that map?
Sorry. Let me just see where this. I did have the one that you emailed me.
Yeah, well, long story short, it's just limb removals. It's no tree removals. There's 1 of 3 of them are for just because of she wants to get rid of them and to make sure that her garage is going to maintain its roof, especially with some of the weather we've been having. And then the other 2, she kind of wanted to do for aesthetic reasons. One of them's really close to the wetland, about 10 feet, and then the other one's kind of just on the line. But again, it's just the limbs. It's not any tree removal.
Okay, thanks. I don't see any issues with it. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. And then I guess lastly, looking for a
I
motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Then do we have a second?
Second.
Great.
Good job, Eddie.
Well, one in the books, Greg, one in the books.
Yeah, that's well done, Greg. And
Yeah,
well done, Ed.
absolutely.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Good job, all. Have a
Good night.
great night.
Thanks, you
Take
too.
care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.